Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about training and development. Suppose that you hired an employee. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? Hey, here's your desk. Get started. No, you will not say so. It needs first an employee orientation, which we call onboarding. Why? Because carefully selecting employees doesn't guarantee they will perform effectively. Even high potential employees can't do their jobs if they do not know what to do and how to do. Employee orientation actually provides new employees with basic background information about the firm in order to make sure your employees do know what to do and how to do. Employee orientation can have multiple purposes. For example, in order to increase the attachment between an employee and the firm, which we call socialization. Socialization of that person into the firm values. Or simply you can say, in order to say welcome, or in order to give basic information to function effectively, such as computer passwords, emails, where to work, where to rest, where to eat. So, employee orientation is one of the most important steps after the selection of an employee when they start a new job. Student orientation. Remember your first day in this faculty or in this university. You need to be oriented because you don't know who is your chairman, for example, in your department. Who's your vice dean, for example? Who's your dean? What are you going to do when the lessons started? All of those questions need to be asked. That's why we prepare an orientation program, not only for our Turkish students, but also for our international students. Training starts after the orientation. The purpose of training is different from the orientation. Training means giving new or current employees the skills they need to perform their jobs. For example, suppose that you're an HR manager. An HR manager needs some skills in terms of motivating people, communicating effectively, talking to others, understand the written sentences, reading comprehension, active listening, problem identification, critical thinking, etc., etc. For example, training can give those skill elements to an HR manager. Training is very important, not only because they need to improve their skills, but also it might be very dangerous for them about risks if they do not know what are they, if they do not know how to deal with them. In the law texts, it is called negligent training. It's a situation where an employer fails to train adequately. For example, safety training. If an employer fails to give training to his or her employees, such as safety training, and if there is an harm done to that employee, employer is the responsible for this harm. If employees do not know what to do or how to do this, they will improvise or do nothing useful at all. The employer must inform the employees of the occupational risks and measures. He or she must provide the employees with necessary training on occupational health and safety. It is one of the rules written in our Turkish labor law. ADI, 5-step training process. The steps to be taken in the training process can be remembered easily with the ADI. The A for analyze, the first D for design, the second D is for develop, I for implement, E for evaluate. So those are the steps to be taken. First, you need to analyze the training needs, and then you need to design the overall training program, and then you should develop the course content, and then you should implement training. And the final step, you should evaluate the course effectiveness. The training needs analysis should address the employer's strategic long-term training needs and its current training needs. What do I mean by strategic training needs analysis? Strategic training need analysis focuses on identifying the training that employees will need to fill these new future jobs. But when it comes to current training needs, it aims to improve current performance, specifically training new employees and those whose performance is deficient. We divide training needs analysis into two. The first one is task analysis for the new employees. The second one is performance analysis for current employees. There is a little bit difference between task analysis and performance analysis. Task analysis is a detailed study of the job to determine what specific skills the job requires. For task analysis, for example, job descriptions and job specifications are essential. The main task in analyzing new employees' needs is to determine what the job entails and break it down into subtasks. It is important especially for lower level workers. When it comes to performance analysis, it is important especially for those whose performance is deficient. You expect high performance, but there is no high performance at all. Then performance analysis is needed at this point. You're going to analyze what are the problems. If the problems are related to skills to be developed, then training might be a good solution on the basis of performance analysis. But sometimes workers deliberately may work very slowly. So in this case, it is not a real performance deficiency on the basis of skills they have. They may deliberately slow down work. In this case, instead of training, motivation might be a better policy to be implemented. By the way, deliberately slowing down work means soldiering according to Taylor. Remember the ADI perspectives, ADI steps. The first step was analyzing the training needs. The second step is to design the overall training program. Design means planning the overall training program, including learning objectives, training outline, and program evaluation. It also includes creating a motivational learning environment, making skills transfer obvious and easy. The third step is to develop the program. It means choosing the actual content. So what will be in the training program? What will be the content? As well as designing and choosing the specific instructional methods. You should explain in this program development, content and materials, content and specific instructional methods. For example, are you going to use lectures? Are you going to use case studies, etc., etc. The fourth step is implementation. Implementation means actually providing the training. How can you provide the actual training? For example, there can be on-the-job training. It means having a person learn a job by actually doing it. But there are also other ways of training, such as coaching. Here in coaching, an experienced worker or the trainee supervisor trains the employee. Job rotation. In job rotation, an employee moves from one job to another job, of course, at planned intervals. Finally, specific assignments similarly give lower-level executives first-hand experience in working on actual problems. Of course, there are other examples of training programs such as lectures, video conferencing, computer-based training, programmed learning, social media, etc., etc. Finally, there is also informal learning. It is learning through day-to-day unplanned interactions between the new worker and his or her colleagues. According to surveys from the American Society for Training and Development, they estimate that as much as 80% of what employees learn on the job, they learn through informal means. So actually, informal learning is also very important. Final step is the evaluation. You should evaluate the course effectiveness, if it is effective or not, if you have reached your objectives or not. In order to understand this, you should evaluate the course effectiveness. Thank you for listening. See you later.